We begin on Kryn in the 1347th year by Dale reckoning, prior to the annoying time of troubles and the monstrously uninteresting Netheril invasion. A calm has come over the kingdom of Tyr. Little do folks know that an ancient artifact, long dormant beneath the surface of the world, has been unearthed. What chaos will reign? What foul power might wield it to lord over the simple manipulated classes of the world and corrupt the ruling hereditary hierarchy? Who might be brave enough or foolish enough to oppose it? These are custom results tables. I mean, have you looked at the tables in this thing? It's like they were designed by someone making actuarial tables for an insurance company. They're insanely boring and show absolutely no understanding of more sophisticated statistical equations. There we go. All right. I track all rolls of my dice. See, many people assume that they are generally random, but each die has manufacturing defects that prejudice it towards certain rolls. I try to identify and keep the highest rolling dice. Tymora, Lady of Luck, please place your fortune upon these dice, that I might roll high and vanquish my enemies. In this I pray. Lady of Luck, Tymora. Here, come on, sit down. Please, let's get started. The high fructose corn syrup based sauce on those wings has all day to congeal. You don't need to rush it. And I would recommend saving the ale until your arteries have been opened and you require sedation to manage the pain. All right. Greetings, ye adventurers. Prepare to enter the ludic circle, leaving behind the cares of the world to enter into a world of richly detailed and powerful role-playing, a life-changing experience. A ludic circle of doom from which there will be no escape. And a circle now enlightened by new and better rules, which I will give to you now. You'll remember last time that I had to make a ruling on the tropical disease contagion rates. I didn't factor in that the humidity would affect the airflow and density. A mistake which will not happen again thanks to these new rules. These replace pages 389 to 421 in your books. You can go ahead and replace those and we can begin. How shall we begin? Let's see. You are not at a humble tavern in a humble village, a place where one's own labors produce results, rather than the efforts of slaves obedient to your hereditary name out of fear of beatings or execution. No. You are not at a humble tavern. You are on your bark. I will not call it a yacht. A bark, ill-earned thanks to an absurd roll on an RNG table I got off GeoCities without running it through my Excel model first. Thankfully, taxes are high in this area, and your ill reputation shall find you no favors with those who would see your wealth redistributed. Enjoy your treasure while you can. The guillotine awaits for those of your ilk. Now I, with all my experience and learned knowledge as a DM, shall turn over autonomy to my players. Whatever shall you do? Dock your bark. Okay. Do you have a title chart? Proficiency in seamanship? Have you given the slightest thought to the challenges your character might encounter in this region and what your character might need for skills to respond to those challenges? Your expression speaks volumes. Well, Larry, is it? A name so etymologically absurd and out of place as to be purely spiteful, and in doing so ruins the experience for those who have embraced the intricacies and rich depth of this truly brilliant campaign. So, Larry, how about you cobble together a roll for me? And it would be delightful if it contained one iota of detail about how you, with no knowledge whatsoever of seamanship, might dock your bark. We shall let the dice decide. As you make your way down the dingy waterfront, you come across a run-down establishment. It is rough and tumble, but you believe it is the place that the harbor master recommended. The harbor master's name is not Ray. It is Raymond, the Archbishop of Pettigrew, 7th generation heir of Alphonsus the Mangled. Let me draw you the family tree. It won't take but a moment. This is fairly common knowledge, particularly if you'd studied the roster of nobility. Well, yes, it was the incident with the family fortune, of course, which is why he's in more of a pedestrian trade as a harbor master. Yes, and it was down through what had originally been his son's line. Well, I'm condensing things a bit just so that we can move on rather than wasting a bunch of time about how his name is Raymond. But you can see, of course, how he's ended up where he is. Anyway, you enter the tavern. It's populated by tough customers, the sort who look like they might be enforcers coming to make good on your overdue Sembian Express bill payments. But perhaps that's a matter for another time. You find a table, and the tavern keeper approaches. He seems like an amiable, chatty fellow, and unlikely to be behind the entire plot. Greetings, ye adventurers. What brings you into my tavern today? Seek ye quenching of your thirst? Well, I'm glad you ask. My name is Valiandro Vianio. That's with 4 L's. Ye wouldn't happen to be the fine folk who own that bark docked in the harbor, are ye? I thought ye might be. We love having fine folk such as yourself come into the establishment, and I've got a special deal for you in recognition of how much I appreciate your patronage. Only 2 silvers per ale. That's right, and this offer won't last long, so I would take advantage while you can. Let me get those ales for you. The amiable barkeep goes and gets you some ales. As he brings them back, say, ye wouldn't be adventuring types, would ye? The kind who might be interested in a dangerous but potentially rewarding, but certainly heroic and potentially world-saving challenge, because I've heard an interesting rumor that may interest ye. Aye, some wizards came into the establishment not long ago, and knowing that they're often sources of interesting gossip and rumors, I plied them with coconut rum to loosen their tongues. Well, of course we have coconut rum here. We get it through trade. Yes, our ships carry peat and horse manure, take it across the sea to land where they have a bounty of coconuts, and we exchange and they bring the coconut rum back to us. That's how trade works. Well, these wizards, they had interesting things to say once their tongues were loosened on coconut rum, though I didn't give them as good as a deal as I'm giving ye all with that 2 silvers per ale discount. Yes, indeed. What they had to say disturbed me greatly. That some evil being had acquired an ancient relic, a shard of glass, perhaps even crystal or gemstone. Yes, and this evil being seeked to regurgitate the power of the shard, that it would use this Monstroul Shard to bring great evil upon the world, and someone must stop it before we all fall to the darkness. The Monstroul Shard. No, shard. D. It's a stop plosive consonant. It's a voiced stop plosive D, not T, not the non-voiced stop plosive, which is T, D. Shard. No, ah, not eh. It's a vowel, a back vowel, not a front vowel. Front vowel. Ah, back vowel. Monstroul Shard. Anyway, if this evil being is not stopped, he will unleash the power of the Monstroul Shard. Perhaps ye adventurers can take on this challenge, and ye can save the world from this certain and terrible doom. Can I get ye another round of ale? Only 2 silvers per ale, thanks to the wonderful discount I offer ye. Another round of ales, then. Fantastic. Ye shall have them soon enough. Have you finished your deliberations? You wish to investigate the temple mentioned by the itinerant juggler. That's actually wise. Are you sure you don't want to pickpocket the viceroy? Or insert your spear of fornication +4, which I always assumed was a measurement rather than a bonus, into the ombudsman's wife? Very well. The temple it is, then. Welcome to our temple. Here we give praise to the sacred Lord of the Dawn, benefactor of peat merchants, last refuge of the soldier, and scourge of thespians. You are welcome here. We are in service, but you are free to look around as suits your needs. And if you wish, please join us in our worship of our sacred Lord. You wipe the slain urchin's blood off your dagger as the monk rushes up to you. What, by the Lord of Light, have you done? Thou hast slain this poor urchin. For what reason? This poor child even though I always found his voice extremely annoying when he would beg for alms. Pray tell, why have you done this? Okay. Yes. I'm not sure that I wrote that text as justification for child murder. However, I see how a particularly devout, albeit less intellectual character might interpret it as such. 1 extra XP for your role playing. May it speed your way to level 17. I am the gesticulator, but I am trapped in Mordenkainen's mediocre box. How will I ever get out of this box? I am not speaking. I only gesticulate. I am the gesticulator. It is unfortunate that this box in which I am trapped is placed in the middle of the path you are following. I guess you will have to help contend with this situation. You can't walk away. I am an important link in the chain. You come back. No, please come back. I am trapped in this box. How can you leave the helpless gesticulator trapped in this box? The half-height door opens and a halfling steps out. He appears to be the one you seek, as he seems to be wearing the bracelet of unification that you learned about in the temple lore. The elven runes on the bracelet glow faintly. Did I say ring? It's a bracelet of unification. Did I fail to enunciate bracelet? Did I stutter? So the halfling wearing the bracelet. Oh, and before you make a snide remark, yes, I have seen the Hobbit film. It is a blatant ripoff of the Lord of the Rings, plagiarized with all the ceremony of Magua cutting out Colonel Monroe's heart. Now, as I said, the halfling wearing the bracelets of unification steps out of his home. It's not a child, he's short. It's a halfling. Fine. There we go. So, the halfling wearing the bracelets of unification. This is too tall. And it can't be a halfling because it's too tall. 2¼ inches tall. I'm sorry, is that too tall for a halfling? So as I understand it, the choices you're debating are between searching the swamp of endless desolation or returning to the inn for Friday drinks. Wow, we could literally wait centuries for you to notice a basic plot point, like a serial killer loading you into the back of his van. Oh, what's this? Is that a messenger pigeon? It's a messenger pigeon. What does the message say? It says, go to the watchman's tower on the high ridge, where local residents have noticed glowing nights every night for the last 2 weeks. Oh, birds flying away. Hope you got the message. So you think you cover 10 miles on foot in a day? Maybe you think you can maintain that pace based on your Sunday hikes in a temperate climate with your Tinder match and her obnoxious, weird-looking dog wearing its ridiculous North Face canine anorak. Well, I'm sorry. This is a trudge over hard terrain. There is no farm-to-table chilaquiles and mimosas waiting for you at the end. No, just another gruel of mildewy oatmeal on a brutally windswept ridge. So, tell me again, Mr. 10 miles a day, about the condition of your footwear. Yeah. It's time for a roll on the blister and bunion table. The fire sputters to life. Ah, use water for broth. Now that is clever. No, your adventuring kits do not contain herbs for flavor. Your rations are basically power bars that have been baked in a kiln for 6 months. They barely keep you alive if you could choke them down. You do have an insight, though. You think perhaps that the iocane powder carried by your magician might add a delicious flavor to the broth. No. Wizards are powerful masters of destruction, wise, clever, able to smite an enemy in a moment. Your sad parlor tricks can do little more than entertain children. That child farce wizard? Ridiculous. I mean, Snape fears him? Absolutely not. Such a powerful and evil spellcaster would wipe out that annoying child in an instant. Yes, well, this is why fan fiction was invented. I can correct that inaccuracy in the story, and you'll see, mine will actually become popular. You push your way through the tall rows of corn, the plants baked dry and brown in the hot autumn sun. As you press your way through, you come upon a clearing and find the land's owner, there on the ground, blood seeping from his wounds. Corn devils killed my father, the corn in his whiskey and the corn snakes in his field, who feasted on his corpse right in front of my 10-year-old eyes. It was a cornucopia of suffering, and I knew then that injustice was woven into the core of this world, that I must become one with it and perpetuate it so others might suffer as I did. You can roll a medicine check to try to staunch the bleeding and save him. It fails. Injustice encircles the world like a line of latitude. Well, it may have been corny, but I think it was a good warning about the evils of big corn. Moving on. You make your way through the most beautiful and tranquil forest you've ever seen. What's your marching order, by the way? Yeah, okay, yeah. And both in front? Okay. It is a majestic forest. There's no undergrowth. Nothing impedes your view except for the magnificent redwood trees, 3 big cubits in diameter. You are overly boastful as a party and overly confident in your passive perception, and thus fail to notice the ambush. A spellcaster appears before you. I am the soft-speaking sorcerer. You wretched folk murdered my brother, the whispering warlock. I have hunted you ever since, and have carefully researched everything about you, so I know that none of you possess magic that could attack my only weakness, poison gas. So now, piteous creatures, prepare to die. Roll initiative. Okay. And okay, and you? And the dwarf? Okay. The soft-speaking sorcerer, prepared already to strike death blows into each of your hearts, sends a bolt of blazing missiles into you for 17 damage. And you'll go first for the party. As you do, a blue glow appears around the soft-speaking spellcaster, and your spell sputters in low resolution like the CG in the latest Michael Bay transformation film. Cleric, you're up next. Thief, you're on deck. And next time, no using any special abilities from other books until I have read them first. So, what do you do? Larry, do you really think your called shot is going to land? You can't roleplay your way into being a hero. You either have the genetic ability or you don't. We all come into this world the same way that our characters do. You roll 3d6 6 times and assign the results. You need to give up on this idea of being a great warrior. It was a youthful and thus perhaps justifiable dream, but I think it's time you devote yourself to being a tavern keeper or learning the art of the tailor so that you can mend clothes for your betters. Yes, there are no consolation prizes for second in the haunted forest. Likely not even a grave, just a pile of bones rotting for eternity. You either swing harder and faster than does the chimera its claw, or you don't. And that's how it is. Now, my girlfriend says people often don't like hearing bad things, even though it's the truth, so I will now cushion that by saying something good. The one area in which you have demonstrated a commitment to historical accuracy has been in your rate of sexually transmitted disease acquisition. Which way is the wind blowing? Why? I don't know if it's coming in from the east. And it's about 14 feet. 3 or to make a ruling. And we do that by reading the rules. Stack exchange? No, I will not surrender decision making over to a bunch of imbecilic man-child forum trolls. No, I will stick to the grand tradition of educated jurisprudence. I believe I have some material and some precedent in international law just to Yes, I do want to build a basis in the law. I was sued by 2 previous parties. Thankfully, the judge was a reasonable man, and in both cases ruled that in a voluntary game, the DM has absolute power. Like all judges, like all good judges, he was lawful neutral. Okay. Yeah, so I'm gonna make the ruling. If you roll higher than a 12. Yeah. No, what have you done, you foul creature? How could you have defeated me? The wind from your dwarf, who did fail his constitution throw after eating the rotten fish, overwhelms the soft-speaking sorcerer, and he dies. You see the cavern up ahead. Have you reached the cave of somnolence? Will it be this easy? Does the Monstroul Shard lie inside? Will you be able to use its power to bring sleep to the wakeful denizens of this earth? You march towards the cavern when suddenly you hear a sword being unsheathed. But then, what's that? You hear another sword being drawn from its scabbard. What foe is this with 2 blades? But then, what do you hear but another sword being drawn? And a 4th. A figure appears in the looming entry of the cave. It is Shogunate Grievous, the 4-armed samurai lizard, each reptilian hand holding a blade. Whatever. I came up with this idea while George Lucas was still making Ewok Christmas specials. Yeah, anyway, the prequels were better than anything that came before or after. I mean, the Knights of Ren and not a single lightsaber joust? Are you kidding me? Let's roll those 20-sided die. Add that dex bonus if you have one. Alright, fighter, have at it. You swing your sword like the knight at some kitschy, mediocre Times restaurant. General Grievous easily parries the blow, fires in a counter, and his many arms move with the blur. Find your sword thrown from your hand, and then your hand entirely sliced off of your arm. A good old-fashioned de-lipping seems to be in order. I actually find Zweihander to be too tame for something a lot more realistic. I made an exhaustive survey of battlefield wounds throughout all time. So yeah, I need you to go ahead and roll to see if you go into shock, staring at the blood pouring from your severed wrist, or whether you pass out, likely to bleed out before your jewel-obsessed comrades even notice that you require healing. Yeah, I think you can abandon your Pendragon fantasies of a multi-generational legacy. You are simply a generic stump on the tree of life that connects all things. Shogunate Grievous's blades were, wizard, what do you intend to do? Clever. You cast your cold spell, and the samurai lizard grows lethargic, his moves slowing, making him easy pickings for the rest of the party to slaughter. You grin with the morally rotten gusto of a Wall Street banker whose insider trading has gone unnoticed by the SEC. The entrance to the cavern is before you, entirely unprotected, like the fields of helpless villagers after invading bandits have slaughtered their hastily assembled and incompetent militia. Why do you trespass here, mortals? I am an all-powerful being from a different dimension, a lich who has mastered the power of the Monstroul Shard. You do not concern me in any way. Still, you thought you would be able to kill me. Well, that would be impossible without the unguents of Alamagoria. You're surprised. Let me throw out a theory here. Some time ago, perhaps a goblin sentry flicked his eyes to the left briefly, and you didn't notice it. Because if you had, you might have gone and checked out the rock ledge he inadvertently glanced at, and you might have found a secret cavern where you could have obtained the unguents. That is, if you'd stuck together and chosen solid tactics, rather than scattering like children and making the screaming deranged attacks of a meth addict trying to steal spray paint from a Kmart. And judging by the stupefied, glazed over look on your faces, which suggests an intelligence score that could have benefited from more points allocation, as well as a single-digit charisma skill probably chosen, some farcical notion that you were min-maxing your barbarian attacks. Anyway, I digress. Since you have not taken the proper preparations, you surely will die now. I'll roll for the theater, but unless your savings throws go above 40, there's really no point. This is the end of the line. Do not pass go, do not collect experience, and it's time to roll a new char. Because you've just been charbroiled. Now please, clear out of my home.